Under guardianship in Florida, a stranger can take you to court and have all of your rights taken away, even if you have family members who are willing to care for you. I-Team investigator Adam Walzer uncovers the financial and emotional costs guardianship can bring.
My grandaunt is Janita Dirce.
Ganita Dirce lived and built her American dream at this small hotel beside one of Florida's best beaches.
She had a rental business in St. Pete Beach in the Don Cesar area, and she was doing very well.
She was out there every single day when she was in her 80s, out there sweeping.
Kept it all clean around here, always had a smile on her face.
Dirce's great-nephew, Getty Pecown, has helped.
I lived with my grandaunt or nearby for almost 15 years, and she's like my mother.
Getty moved from Lithuania as a teen and lived rent-free at the Dirce Hotel through college and grad school.
He was, helping with the property and cooking meals and cleaning, and he was doing everything.
He took care of her, she took care of him. That's what family does.
Lieutenant Tim Everett says the hotel was Dirce's version of paradise.
She enjoyed it so much here, I think she'd rather be here than anywhere else.
She went down to the beach and swam every day. She loved it out here.
This home video shows Dirce dancing at a nearby beach bar. But as Hurricane Irma approached in September 2017, there was trouble in paradise.
It started with a real estate agent who was pushing her to sell her property.
Getty flew to Lithuania for a family emergency, and realtor Diana Sames showed up at the hotel.
She never knew her. She was never a friend to her. I never saw her over there helping Jeannie or doing anything.
How many times did you see Diane Sames over here before the hurricane?
None at all.
Everett says he overheard Dirce refusing to list her property with Sames.
Jeannie would say, I know sell.
But when the hurricane arrived, Sames took Dirce to ride out the storm at her former client's house across the street from her hotel. Months after the hurricane, Dirce sold one of her 3 buildings to her great-nephew Getty for a below-market price of $50,000, closing at a title company in front of a notary and witnesses. Sames went to a lawyer and asked a judge to declare Dirce incapacitated, claiming Getty exploited her. In court documents, Sames misspelled Ganita's first name and wrote, her language is unknown and she speaks English with a heavy accent. Sames also described herself to the judge as a close neighbor to Dirce, but you can barely see her hotel from drone footage shot above Sames' home, since it's 0.6 of a mile away. As court proceedings progressed, Dirce reported unwanted visits from Sames.
911, is it the police, fire, or medical emergency? This is the apartment hotel. Diana Sames come all the time here, very bad woman, talking too much.
Sames initially declined our interview request, but we caught up with her outside her office.
I'm Adam with ABC Action News. We've emailed back and forth. I wanted to talk to you about Miss Dirce. Why you wanted to be involved in the guardianship
Excuse
process.
me, I was so happy to involve myself with the corruption that I saw from...
So you thought the nephew was corrupt, Getty was corrupt?
No, he was dishonest. He didn't contact any of the family members, and he did it by himself, and it was against her will.
Sames denied she had any interest in Dirce's property.
All I care about is Jenny Dirce. I don't care about any other dramas that she's been taken care of, and it was very important to protect her interests.
Judge Pam Campbell declared Dirce incapacitated, took away her rights, and placed her in guardianship to protect her from her great-nephew.
He was taking property from Mrs. Dirce for less than fair market value during this time of the guardianship being established. So that does raise concerns about Mrs. Dirce's right mind.
The judge appointed Tracy Samuel, now known as Tracy Hudson, to be Dirce's guardian, who would be paid from Dirce's funds. The guardian used Dirce's money to sue Getty, filing an eviction lawsuit and trying to reverse the sale of the hotel.
Trying to get her hotel back, she didn't sell it to him.
Hudson initially hired caregivers to take care of Dirce at the hotel, but then this happened.
Let's go. I don't care if you try to hurt me. I try to help you. Let's go. Let's go. I'm going to stay in my magic. Let's go. It's my boy. Okay, we'll stay here. Stop yelling. Let's stay here. Bye.
Getty reported the incident to police, but no charges were filed. Dirsay was moved into assisted living, where Getty was prevented from seeing or communicating with her.
She doesn't want him to visit, respecting the privacy of her.
In November 2019, Dirsay's guardian, known then as Tracy Hudson, was arrested, accused of stealing more than $500,000 from a 92-year-old man under her care. Authorities say she used the money to buy this house, Tampa Bay Bucks tickets, and jewelry.
That case that she was charged with is a power of attorney case, so totally different from our guardianship cases.
Hudson has not been charged in the Dirsay case, but the judge assigned Dirsay a new guardian. Court documents show that new guardian discovered Dirsay had not been to an eye doctor nor dentist while under Hudson's care. As for Dirsay's home, the guardian wrote, "Nothing has been done, not even food out of the refrigerator." Speechless. And Hudson failed to turn over Dirsay's tax returns, family contact numbers, bank statements, canceled checks, keys, and dozens of other items despite a judge's order. Then in late April, Getty got the news he feared most.
And I see on my phone pop up message, email message, saying that my aunt is hospitalized and infected with coronavirus. My heart said, no, this is not good news. The problem is we had an order, no visitation order.
Tell me what you did to try to talk to her the last, especially after you found out she was sick with coronavirus.
I started communication with my attorney to talk to her and be able to see her, visit on a video call or regular call.
Dirsay died less than a week later. Getty didn't talk to her during the last year and a half of her life.
She loved her beach home and worked around it until she was moved to an assisted living facility. We wish that the last 2 years away from her family and her home would not be lost to her, that things could have been different for her and for all of us.
Dirsay was entombed next to her late husband, one of 7,000 Floridians associated with Florida long-term care facilities to die from COVID-19.
And now we have the results. And the results were getting worse and worse and worse. And on May 5th, we end up with my aunts, who's like my mother, death, which is, it cannot be even worse. Can be worse.
Court records show guardians and lawyers billed Dirsay $287,648 in less than 2 years. Adam Walser taking action for you.
Welcome back. Court-appointed guardians in the headlines and under arrest for stealing, abuse, and neglect.
Now, I-Team investigator Adam Walser uncovers even when the state's own investigators found guardians broke the law, they continued with business as usual.
Can I kiss you too?
Long before the pandemic, this video from 2018 shows a reunion.
Can't you see I'm no good without you?
Between Lily White, her sister Jane, and her niece Terry. Lily is still at an assisted living facility, and her court-appointed guardian banned most of her family from contacting her years ago.
We didn't know where she was for 2 years, and then we found her through private investigators in November 2018.
After a family dispute over money, a judge appointed a professional guardian to care for White.
I never thought anything like this could have happened.
White was removed from her home in August 2016 and taken to this assisted living facility.
They're saying you don't want to see your sister, Janie. Do you want to see her?
See how lies can get out and, oh my goodness.
Do you want to see her?
Of course I do, and I've always wanted to see her.
Okay.
But before Lily's family tracked her down, they contacted the State Office of Public and Professional Guardians, or OPPG, the watchdog agency set up to investigate complaints against guardians.
I finally received a call from the Inspector General's office saying, we're opening up an investigation, so I was very excited.
That call came in 2017, about a year after she filed a complaint, but she heard nothing more until almost 2 years later.
Every month I'm calling and saying, another year, another week, another month, where's the report?
The I-Team obtained that report, showing investigators found Lily's guardian was not registered as a professional guardian with the state and billing Lily's bank account for attorney's fees that were not allowed. But despite finding problems, the I-Team found the state's watchdog did not take any disciplinary action. In this letter to Lily's guardian, Department of Elder Affairs Secretary Richard Prudhomme said her conduct was mitigated by the complexity of the family relationships.
I was so angry when I got the OPPG letter.
The I-Team uncovered 8 other cases in which investigators determined guardians violated the law, but the state never moved to revoke any of their registrations, instead ruling each of those problems had been mitigated. One guardian was cited for paying a concierge dentist $73,000 for unnecessary visits. Another for charging a person under her care to take her on a cruise as an hourly caretaker. And one guardian billed a woman through his private company on the side without telling the court. Those guardians' actions were all mitigated by taking 16 hours of continuing education courses.
She wanted all measures done. She appointed me as her surrogate health care provider, surrogate person, and they were ignored by the guardian.
Kathleen Zagros complained to the state after her mother's guardian ignored her mother's advanced care directives, then requested a do not resuscitate order. The investigator substantiated that allegation, but a letter to the guardian dated October 14, 2019 said the conduct was mitigated by the actions to honor veterans at Arlington National Cemetery. What does that mean? The state did not take any disciplinary action against the guardian because she bought 5 wreaths for $150 through an organization that lays wreaths at Arlington National Cemetery. Secretary of Elder Affairs Richard Prudhomme declined an interview for this story, but said in a statement, whenever intent to cause harm is found, the department will refer the matter to law enforcement. But so far, his watchdog agency has not been able to substantiate any cases that referred to law enforcement, even though at least 5 guardians have been charged with crimes.
The OPPG to date has been there to protect guardians and not the senior. It's very, very clear.
We first spoke with Teresa Kennedy back in March before the pandemic shutdown. We recently followed up with her and confirmed she's still not able to have any contact at all with her Aunt Lily, even by telephone.
People who do have loved ones in nursing homes right now during COVID-19 might get a little sense of it, not being able to hug the mother, having to talk to them through the window. But at least they can do that. We can't.
She's hoping her last reunion with her Aunt Lily in 2018.
Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. Why can I go on without you?
Won't be their last.
The part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me?
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser, taking action for you.
Thousands of Floridians are under court-ordered guardianship, a system in which a judge declares a person to be incapacitated and then assigns a professional guardianship to take over their lives. Well, for more than 7 years now, I-Team investigator Adam Walser has combed through thousands of court records, exposing instances of exploitation and abuse of vulnerable seniors by their guardians. Now he's uncovered attorneys who represent those guardians are trying to make it more difficult for the public to find out exactly what's going on in those cases.
I can dress myself, I can take a shower, I can walk.
It was more than 7 years ago when we first introduced you to Willie Birchow, a 99-year-old man wrongly placed in an Alzheimer's unit by his guardian.
There's lots of things wrong, lots of things. Got to be looked into.
Some of the things we've uncovered that were wrong: guardians selling homes and property under market value with no appraisals, guardians seeking do not resuscitate orders without consulting families or judges, and multiple guardians accused of financially exploiting those under their care. But an overhaul of the guardianship law proposed by the Real Property Probate and Trust Law section of the Florida Bar could prevent the public from seeing what goes on in guardianship cases in the future.
For the last 6 years, we sort of studied the code. We looked at what's being done nationally.
Bill Hennessy is chairman of the committee proposing rewriting the law. That committee recommends measures aimed at preserving the ward's right to privacy. Currently, things like health and financial records are kept confidential, but the new proposal expands these protections to all of the ward's private information. That includes records that show who is buying ward's property and at what price, how much guardians and their attorneys are billing wards, how often guardians actually visit their wards, and whether a ward asked the court to be reevaluated and released from guardianship, which happened in Willie Burchow's case.
The issue here that we're always going to try to balance is dealing with a person's privacy and dignity versus this issue of the good things that happen when you open the court file.
The best the bar can do is let's hide more records.
Guardianship reform advocate Rick Black believes the new rules will lead to more secrecy and exploitation. He says recent arrest of guardians in Florida proves there are a lot of problems not addressed in the proposed law.
Let's document what really has gone on and what allowed those 4 that have now been criminally arrested to flourish within this system that would appear to be more about profiteering than about protection.
Hennessy says the new law addresses plenty of issues aimed at protecting wards, and he looks forward to working with others to come up with a final version of the law.
We all need to be working together to protect these folks, and we're going to have a good dialogue together in the legislature.
The proposed rules must first be approved by the Florida Bar Board of Governors. That section will then lobby lawmakers to draft a new bill for the upcoming legislative session.
Imagine losing your rights and belongings and being locked in a memory care unit even though you're capable of living independently. I-Team investigator Adam Walser uncovered how a woman's pleas were ignored by her court-appointed guardian and how she turned to social media for help.
This was the first time we spoke with Jan Garwood in April.
Hey there.
Garwood first messaged on Facebook, then called on FaceTime using a secret cell phone. Garwood had researched our stories about problems with Florida's guardianship system. She called from a locked dementia unit at the Palms of Longwood Assisted Living Facility.
It's hard to put a word on it. Heartbreaking.
Garwood was put into guardianship in 2017 after she was injured in a car crash while grieving the death of her son.
There shouldn't be anybody that should be able to have 100% control over anybody's life.
A judge appointed disgraced former guardian Rebecca Furley to care for her.
The families are wanting some answers here.
Furley resigned from her cases after state investigators alleged she was responsible for the death of a man under her care. Furley was later charged with 2 felonies and is awaiting trial. A new guardian took over Garwood's case, but when Garwood said the woman wouldn't help her get her rights restored, Garwood took to social media.
I had put my ad on Facebook and said, somebody help me, I've got a guardian who's controlling my life.
Guardianship reform advocate Hillary Hogue responded and visited her.
Are you happy with your guardian?
Are you kidding me? I hate my guardian. My guardian hates me.
Hogue arranged for Garwood to contact attorney Vito Ropo.
I filed a motion to be appointed as her counsel at her request, and I put in there that I believe that she should be reexamined.
Her guardian's attorney fought back, responding with this letter demanding Ropo drop the case or face financial sanctions.
I was being threatened personally. My own individual finances were at stake.
A judge ordered a doctor to evaluate Garwood's mental capacity, and Garwood got a nearly perfect score. The doctor saying she is fully capable of handling and executing her own personal, medical, and financial day-to-day affairs. The judge released Garwood from guardianship in late August.
But I never gave up that eventually, sooner or later, something would have to happen that I'd be able to get away from her.
After her release, Garwood no longer had her home. Her guardian sold it to an employee of Palms of Longwood.
It was sold substantially less than what the other homes in the area were going for. And we also know that the house was never placed onto the market for sale.
When you lose a house like that, you lose your memories.
The proceeds went into a trust Garwood can't access, and what happened to her belongings is a mystery.
I have, or had, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed, but over $300,000 worth of old furniture, jewelry, collectibles.
Records show her guardian billed Garwood to pack and store her items, but
at this point, we're told that they have no personal property of hers at all. No pictures, nothing. It's just nothing. They have zero.
We contacted the guardian and her attorney repeatedly, but neither responded. Garwood, who lived in a 2,700 square foot home before guardianship, now lives in a friend's garage.
We went to the food pantry and stood in line for 4 hours to get a couple of boxes of old food. And that's what we've been eating.
You're living in a garage. You're depending on the food pantry because of guardianship and the state of Florida allowing this to happen.
Absolutely. And there is no reason for this.
You lose more rights in a guardianship, in most guardianships, than you do if you go to federal prison.
It's very scary to think we're in the United States and this is happening to us. All our rights, all our privileges, all the things we've believed in and worked for all these years to keep. What's going on?
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser taking action for you.
Welcome back. A retired engineer put into a guardianship years ago is pleading to get his rights restored after a licensed psychiatrist says that he is capable of caring for himself.
But ABC Action News investigator Adam Walser has uncovered legal challenges have prevented that doctor's opinion from even being considered.
So this is home sweet home.
Yeah.
This extended stay hotel has been Doug Keegan's home for 2 years.
Okay, so this is the kitchen. It's small, but it's got a microwave and a toaster oven.
744, that's the Florida Guardianship statute.
Right.
Yeah.
Keegan has a makeshift law library on his fridge. His ride to the courthouse is parked by the door.
I have transportation for my bike. Occasionally I take the bus.
And these binders contain copies of legal pleadings Keegan sent to judges.
Probably where I spend, 80% of my time. So I work on my laptop.
So Mr. Keegan can't do that. He doesn't have any rights.
Attorney Kyle Fletcher represents Keegan's guardian and is paid $350 an hour from Keegan's funds.
He's incapacitated, okay, which means he actually doesn't understand anything you say.
But in September, Judge Alan Apt questioned that after Keegan filed this 12-page report.
I set this hearing because I believed you had some capacity. Do you believe that you have capacity?
Absolutely. I'm just trying to inform the court that he does not have mental ability to understand logic.
He doesn't grasp what the judge is saying, if you understand what I'm saying.
The guardian's attorney wanted to appoint a court-appointed attorney, which I knew would be useless. I said, no. I said, I want my own attorney. And so after he said, do you know anyone? And I said, yeah, I know this Leslie Law.
Keegan met attorney Leslie Federigos through a guardianship reform Facebook group.
He's clearly got capacity. He's, been involved in this for 6 years, and he has tried multiple times, including from himself, to get out of this.
Keegan's guardianship started after he married a woman from Kenya who his family believed was financially exploiting him.
He found a Nigerian woman to marry off of Craigslist, the in-person Nigerian scam.
Contrary to Fletcher's assertion, Keegan says it was a legitimate marriage.
I had known her for a year. I brought her to my mom's house for Christmas dinner the year before.
We spoke to his ex-wife from Kenya, where she was visiting family over the Christmas holiday. She said she first came to the United States in 2002 and became a citizen in 2009, and she also confirmed it was a legitimate marriage. Keegan's family also sought guardianship because he had a history of alcohol abuse, which led to him being hospitalized.
Because I have a problem with alcohol, which is irrelevant to guardianship. You could be a gambler, you could be, morbidly obese, you could have a million problems. That's not a reason for saying put him in guardianship because he may hurt himself.
One doctor who evaluated him in 2014 says his drinking doesn't rise to the level of guardianship. But months later, a judge declared Keegan incapacitated.
They went in there and they stripped me of all my rights. They took all my money, took all my rights away from me.
You're a professional person.
I'm an engineer, electrical engineer, yeah.
Keegan's lucrative consulting work enabled him to buy a condo with cash and retire early. Now more than $200,000 he saved has gone to pay guardians and attorneys, while Keegan is only allowed to shop at certain places with a restricted debit card.
I'm allowed Denny's, McDonald's, Subway, Golden Corral, Chick-fil-A. and then there's a Dollar Tree I can go to.
They have him in a plenary guardianship, basically stating that he has no capacity to have any of his normal rights, but he's living in a motel with no supervision.
Well, Dr. Sieg, who is a psychiatrist, in other words, he's a medical doctor, determined that he had frontal lobe dementia.
That was in 2015. The Mayo Clinic says doctors should use blood tests, sleep studies, and brain scans to diagnose frontal lobe dementia. But Dr. Sieg's report doesn't indicate he did any of that.
What kind of test did he do to see that Mr. Keegan had this, do you know?
I do not know, but I know that the psychiatrist usually reviews all his medical history, okay?
Dr. C's report says he didn't talk to Keegan's regular doctor.
That diagnosis was very suspect, based only on a very cursory examination.
Retired internal medicine Dr. Sam Sugar founded Americans Against Abusive Probate Guardianships and has known Keegan for 3 years.
There's no evidence now that he suffers from any kind of dementia. So it's imperative that the court understand that people can recover, people can get better, and they no longer need the guardianship.
Judge App signed an order allowing Keegan to be evaluated by a psychiatrist from Boca Raton. That doctor determined Keegan had full capacity. Attorney Fletcher objected to not being properly notified and got a hearing with a different judge who overturned the doctor's appointment and appointed the doctor Fletcher recommended to evaluate Keegan.
They're contesting the doctor's report because he didn't get evaluated by the doctor they wanted him to be evaluated by.
And that is the modus operandi of this lawyer who goes around in other cases doing the same thing, finding someone she wants rather than what the parties agree upon or who's on the appointed list.
Why do you think it's important to use only the attorneys that are on your list there for your county and only the doctors that are on your list there for your county?
That's the way the law is.
And if the judge rejects it out of hand because he's not on some list, I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Dr. Sugarman seems to me is to be a bizarre person who absolutely has no idea what goes on in the law.
Keegan's attorney requested another hearing with Judge Apt. At that hearing, the judge picked a physician to evaluate Keegan from among 6 doctors offered by the two sides.
After all, what's at stake but a man's life? No big deal.
That was after Dr. Sugar sent the judge a letter asking the judge to grant Mr. Keegan a full and comprehensive reevaluation with an independent, third-party, fully qualified physician.
He's probably about as competent as Mr. Keegan.
It's horrible. You know, and anyone, high level in government should be horrified by what they're seeing here in the courts.
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser taking action for you.
Keegan is expected to be evaluated by the new doctor next month.